Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome back to the Hangin With Web Show. I'm GW Pomicher. Thank you so much for logging on, tuning in. However you got here, we're sure glad you came. Do me a favor, hit subscribe. And there's a little bell. Bang on that little bell real quick. Get notified every single weekday after 2 p.m. when we have a new interview with an author, artist, filmmaker, musician, creative minds of all kinds. Come and sit here in the chair on the Hangin With Web Show. Right now, we are down at the Foxwood Wine Company. We've taken over a whole area at the Foxwood Wine Company to put our set up so we could hang out with some great artists and entertainers today. We're hanging out with our good friend, Hangin With Web Show alumnus, author Joanne Fisher, the author of, you know, it's funny, they put on the card one of the book titles. Mm-hmm. First of all, so many more books than just All of Me. So, really? And second of all, like, we've never done this. This is, I
Only
think,
a few times.
Yeah, this is my third interview.
I think it's a third
interview. Yeah. So first of all of Me Too.
Yes.
We talked about this a little bit the last
time. We started 2
years
years ago with this
All
one,
of Me,
with
that's
All
right.
of Me, the first one. My first book, my first love, you know, my first success. I love it, this book. And then I gave it to my sister to read, and she's like, you know you need to write a sequel, right? And I'm like, oh, no, I don't. She goes, oh, yeah, you do.
Oh, yeah.
So 2 years later,
and
here's
here
the
we
sequel.
Go. The sequel is here.
And
All of Me Too.
First, here she gets herself into trouble, and here she kind of resolves her issues and all that. And
very nice.
Turns out pretty good.
All right, well, let's get a little book blurb here. Let's tell them a little bit about All of Me Too.
Okay.
All right. So oh, no, that's cheating.
Oh. Well, anyway, so my main character is Juliana.
Juliana, that's right.
She is set, the book is set in Toronto, Canada. That's where I'm from. That's where I was born. That's where I was living at the time that I wrote the first one.
Okay.
So, and then she kind of like, she's going through a midlife crisis, and she kind of gets tired of her husband and all that. So she goes online and she meets a couple of men online. One is a local businessman, very poetic, very romantic. And the other one is a guy from California. And so she starts having an affair with these two gentlemen and kind of sort of gets herself into trouble.
And
you know,
hijinks ensue, because that's what happens when writers take control of your life. Hijinks is inevitable.
That's right. That is correct.
And so in here you said she's working on some resolution, though.
Right.
She's
this is
the
book where she has to pay for her mistakes.
Okay.
Basically, but
in the old days, they used to call that their comeuppance. They used to require that, you know, the antagonist or protagonist, depending on how they were, had to get their comeuppance.
That's right. That's correct. But she does manage to resolve things. And will she have a happily ever after? I don't know. You have to read the book.
See, you don't get to know. You have to buy the book. You have to read the book. We have always put a lot of Joanne's links down in the description. We want to make sure you check those out and check out these books. So, I can't read what her card says because it's behind the monitor, but I'm sure you can. You? No, I'm good. We're good. I just, you know, anyway, we have questions coming in from online, which is great. So, With All of Me is a seasoned romance. That's how it's been described. First of all, tell us what that genre is. What does seasoned romance mean? And then tell us what appeals to you about writing in that genre.
Well, seasoned romance is about couples, people that are, let's say, a little over 40.
21, that's right.
Over 40, and, you know, I'm kind of on that way. Stories about people who go through midlife crises, whether it's the men or the women, it doesn't really matter. All sorts of issues, but that's.
Well, you know, I know on the internet they don't know this.
Right.
But we actually do have lives after like 30s, after our 30s. We still are alive, living, meeting people, doing things. You know, we breathe in and out just like the rest of the young people that are out there on the internet, right?
That's
so somebody's got to write about that stuff.
That's right, and as a seasoned author, I guess you could say.
I like the way she put that. That was really well done. All right, as a seasoned author.
I like to write the seasoned romances, yeah.
I mean, you know, for not just the readers who are in this stage of our lives, but the younger readers and even the older readers, it does, you know, writing about those second chance love stories, writing about sometimes the most interesting stories come from the mundane. And by the time you're in this stage of our lives, life is in a rhythm and a routine, and it's the variations from that routine that provide adventure.
Right.
And they also provide trouble, and they,
True.
So
true.
It's in that ambiguity where you get to live and write very real characters, and remind people that those real characters stay real even into their midlife. Some of them stay real even when they get old.
Yes.
See, it does
true.
happen.
Yes, it does.
So, all right, so we have the With All of Me, now we're officially able
Saga.
to say saga, series. There it is.
Right.
Okay, but we've got some other things over here too. We're going to set these down real quick so we can go through and remind everybody about what you've been up to. Because when we talked to Joanne, one book, first book, and then she went home, bam, this just happened. You'll get the pun in a minute. Ready? Because good things always happen in springtime. This is your World War II story.
This is my historical fiction.
This is your
Yes,
historical
sir.
fiction story. Good thing
My
always happens in-
bestseller.
Amazing story, guys. Amazing story. This takes place during World War II.
Correct.
During
Nazi
the
Germany.
Holocaust in Nazi Germany. It's a great, you might call it a great chase tale, because there's a little, the Nazis are chasing after our protagonists. And, but you've just grounded this in such a wonderful, rich tapestry that is the 1940s.
Yes.
Globally, not just here in America, but the 1940s globally was just such a wonderful tapestry of emotional range.
Right.
We had our highest moments and our lowest moments
Absolutely.
in those days. So, okay, so we have that. We have Good Things Always Happen in Springtime. We have Baker's Dozen, an anthology. Okay, and this is, tell us about this one.
This is about 13 stories, obviously, Baker's Dozen. I send out a newsletter every month to my fans, and every time I send out a newsletter, I say, hey, you guys want to read a free short story? I offer that always for free. So last year I collected them all and put them in this anthology.
Awesome.
Now there is also some seasoned, there's a story about a seasoned rock star who falls for one of his fans, his true fans.
Okay.
There's a story about a woman who inherits some money, and she's Italian origin. So she goes to her little village where her parents were from in Italy, and it's set up in Alberobello, which is a very special little town in southern Italy, around the Heel area.
Okay.
It's got some buildings called the Trulli, which is they're very specially made, and they were like made for like farmers to store, all sorts of wheat and corn and so on and so forth. This one's called Amore in August. There's a story There's a story about my cute little dachshund, Wally. He's a rescue, so I just kind of wrote a story from his perspective.
Nice.
So yeah, and then there's a story about a Green Beret who has a little bit of PTSD, but he kind of resolves his issue with his therapist. So anyway, there's a lot of really good...
Again, do the math, people, okay?
Yes.
You guys are not very creative out there. Okay, so this is an anthology, a short story collection.
Short story collection.
And there's a little bit of everything in here.
Correct.
So that's everything but the kitchen sink. Actually,
Well,
the
all
kitchen
based
sink's
on love, basically.
Kitchen sink's on the cover, see? Because you got all the teapots and
Teapots and everything.
dishes and stuff. Okay, her Spanish doll.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
This is my
This is Joanne. This is Joanne's guilty pleasure, because this is her chance to write a little spicier.
That's correct.
Okay.
You got
so
it.
yeah, give us a little booklet. Let's
So
remind
this
them.
basically this Spanish doll. I own this doll. I have her. Okay. And I don't know if you guys know, but I lived in Italy for about 18 years, from when I was about 20 to, anyway, 18 years, do the math. So when I was about 24 years old, I was about to be married and everything. So I was working this like part-time job to make some money, to pay for the wedding. And this businessman from Spain came along, and I kind of realized now that I think he had a little bit of a crush on me. And so he said, well, what do you collect? In those days, I collected dolls, just like dolls from the cities where I traveled to.
Awesome.
And so he goes, when I come back from Spain for my next business trip, I'm going to bring you a Spanish doll. Okay. I'm like, oh, that'd be great. So 2 weeks later, he shows up with this humongous Spanish doll. I'm not kidding. She's this big and this wide. So I have her in my home. I have her on my dining room buffet. So, but then I kind of put it away. So when I went to Canada in 2018 for my sister, she had surgery. So my sons are like, Mom, when are you going to get rid of this doll? Like, we're tired of holding her for you. I'm like, okay, fine. So I took her home. I cleaned her up, washed her and everything. And while I was doing that, the story popped into my head.
Wow.
And so so it's set in Italy and also in Spain. And basically they start having an affair and all that.
This is a spicy romance novel.
Very spicy, yes.
Very spicy. And you know what? World travel and spicy romance and love affairs.
Right.
And it's a fun ride.
It is.
It is. And like a lot of the spicier romances, it's just fun.
Right.
Because there's nothing, one of the things that we always talk about is, art has to be true to people. And sometimes romance for people is ridiculous. So we make fun of it. Sometimes it is heartwarming. Sometimes it brings out the best in us. And so we write those stories. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's a little evocative.
Yes.
And we write those stories too, because it's all about being true to who we are as individuals. And so that brings us, because this is a traveling whirlwind
love affair.
Love affair. Thank you. That was good. European love. That brings us to this little guy here. Just a little bit of something. It is Traveling Boomers First Stop Italy. This is, tell us a little bit about this little guy.
Well, my husband and I last year, we went to Italy for a trip. I went back after 21 years. He had never been, so we just did a nice tour, a couple of weeks, did the major cities and so on and so forth. And my husband and I travel fairly often, so we kind of know the ins and outs of traveling. So I made up I thought about this book. It's just a travel guide, basically, for anybody who's retiring. There's there are a lot of baby boomers who are in retirement age, and they're like, okay, what do I do? They have no clue about how to travel, what to pack, what not to bring, et cetera, et cetera. This is just a little guide.
That's
it just
awesome,
helps you to, gives you ideas of what to expect when you get to Italy. Just a little secret is, for example, there's these street vendors that what they do is they repackage up bottles of water. And because it's so hot over there, people buy them for like €0.50. And but don't buy them because they're like, it's recycled water. What they do is they take the bottles, they wash them, they go to the fountains, they fill them up.
I was going to say, we also want to remind everybody that if you're traveling for the first time, and this is really, really important to understand, that there are some cultural distinctions. And I remember I had traveled as a teen in young 20s. And then when Dina and I got married, we traveled on our honeymoon, and she had never traveled.
Right.
And so I remember telling her, remember, European sensibilities are very different than American sensibilities. So when you get there, just, kind of get your bearings. And we were walking through the park, and this takes us to Joanne's tip on don't buy rebottled water. And that is one of the things is we were sitting in front of a fountain, and there was a young gentleman in all of his glory taking a little bath in the middle of the fountain.
Oh, there you go.
And Dina's face just kind of went white, and I said, see, this is not Central Park in New York. This is not LA or Florida. This is not one of our playground parks.
That's right.
This is a place where people travel. They travel from city to city, from town to town, on trains and with backpacks and on bicycles and whatnot. It's an old culture, and a fountain is a fountain is a fountain. If you're hot and you're dirty and you want to, it's a place to take a bath.
Right.
And she just was flabbergasted.
Yes.
So if the water came out of the fountain, so did Vinny. Do the math. Okay? This is a great travel tips, guys. We have to wrap it up. We've been hanging out with our good friend, Hangin With Web Show alumnus, Joanne Fisher. We talked a little bit about All of Me Too, which is available now. So we're going to put a link down below for that and all of the other books as well. We want to thank our partners and friends for sharing our videos all over the World Wide Web. Our great friend Rick Shea and his team at Famous Faces and Funnies. Jake Estrada over at Space Coast Comics. Chuck Fresh at IndieCon 2019 and now coming soon IndieCon 2020. Jay Bauer Art for all the wonderful art that adorns our set. Embellish Effects for helping Cosplay Michael out so much. Our great friends at the Foxwood Wine Company for opening up this whole section of their store to be our studio today. And our great friends over at Hearts Helping Others of Central Florida, Bee and her team over there who are helping to spread joy to children and families throughout Central Florida. They've been raising money to do anything from toy giveaways to medical help, all kinds. They are just out there trying to help others, which is amazing. Thank you to our friends Gene Turnbow and the crew over at Krypton Radio for our radio shows that we do every week. And thank you for being here to hang out with Joanne Fisher and myself. Remember, log on, tune in, and see who we're hanging with next. Awesome, Joanne. Thank you so much again.